for coming to this New Skin event. My name is Alan Groden. I'm a dentist in the area. I've been a dentist for 30 years, and 3 years ago I was introduced to New Skin, which was perfect timing for me because 3 years ago the economy was so terrible here. My practice was diminishing. I was basically suffering a little bit. I remember telling my daughter, you know, Dad might even go clip coupons now because the times are tough and people are losing their insurances, and my revenue went down. 3 years ago, I get a call from somebody in California. She tells me to check this out. I checked it out. I did my diligence, and I found out it was the real deal. The gentleman that's going to be speaking to us today, to all the guests and distributors, is now a friend of mine. He is one of my mentors and one of my role models. But my life is so much better since I have found this in the last 3 years. Financially, spiritually, physically, I feel I look better than I did 3 years ago. I feel better than I did 3 years ago. And just 5 minutes ago, I got a text from my daughter, the one I told I was going to clip coupons. And she's an attorney in New York City. And right now, she's on her way to South America on a trip. So her name is Jackie, and she just sent me this text. I signed her up as a distributor. She doesn't really even know it, but I signed her up. Because I wanted to. And it's great. You do this for your kids. Anyway, she goes, Dad, I just received a $250 check from New Skin yesterday, which I cashed this morning to use on my vacation. Thanks, Dad. So she just got money, and she doesn't even know how she got it. But I helped her out a little bit. But that's even when you don't try, money comes in. So it's the greatest thing ever. It's amazing. So now she'll probably want to be in New Skin. Nathan Ricks is one of the most genuine, powerful, humble, great men in New Skin, and I'm blessed that he's here. He's a $20+ million earner with the company, and if you heard earlier, you heard the actual amount that he said that he has made. So I want to, without further ado, here's Nathan Ricks, and he's going to show us the way.
Thank you, Alan. All right, so I have to walk out of here right around 1 o'clock because we have a departure time out of Pontiac. So we're going to get it done pretty quick, and you get back to whatever you need to be doing once we wrap this up. I'm going to encourage you to take notes. We're going to go pretty quick through this. I want you to take your phones and turn them off. You know, at least no noise, okay? No interruptions. No interruptions. That'll be good enough. Okay. I'll tell you how I started the business first, and then we're going to talk about some statistics, some numbers, and it's going to be a little bit brutal. You're going to look at that and go, really? That's the way it really is? And you'll see this is the way it really is when it comes to finances for people. Okay. So we're going to take care of that, and then we're going to talk about 5 key areas today. And as we talk about those are the ones I want you to jot some notes down. Because those 5 areas will show you that this is the best business you will ever see in your life. Okay? Now that's a big statement to make. So I'm going to put some foundation underneath that as we go through this presentation. All right? I was recruited more than 24 years ago by my brother-in-law. This is the exact same brother-in-law that recruited me into my first 2 network marketing companies, both of which ended up bankrupt. So I wasn't too excited to get the 3rd phone call from the same brother-in-law, right? About this New Skin thing. Needless to say, was resistant, right? I wasn't really open to listening to what he had to say. But he stuck with it. And he went through my rejection and my, objections and so forth. And he stuck with it. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. And he convinced me to take the time to look at it close enough. And I spent 2 weeks really digging into the company, trying to understand why this one was different, why it was unique, why it could go the distance, and so forth. And so that was the process that I went through. And what spurred me to do that is he said this on that phone call. He said, Nathan, your real problem is you are in the wrong vehicle. And he was not talking about my car that I was driving, okay? He was talking about my financial vehicle, what I was doing to make my money in my life, to pay my bills, feed my family. And he was inferring that my vehicle, my real estate practice that I was in at the time, was inferior to his network marketing opportunity. Now that's a pretty big stretch for most people. They would say real estate's real, and that's not. He was suggesting the opposite to me. And then he said, it's like you're pedaling a 10-speed bicycle. He said, me, I'm driving a Ferrari. Doesn't matter how fast you pedal that 10-speed, Nathan, you will never catch me in my Ferrari. And so for the next week, I went to my real estate office and I sat at the desk and I'd ask myself the question, so why is this a 10-speed? What's wrong with this thing? And it became obvious after a few days. I thought, okay, yeah, I've got overhead, I got rent to pay, an office building, you know, I got employees, secretary, assistant, all this stuff. He didn't have any of that. He works out of his house. He's not restricted on his area like I am. He can go anywhere in the state, the whole country if he wants, you know. And he had these advantages that were obvious. But the one thing he had that was really unique is he had a way. He had this possibility where you could work hard one time. And if you did it right, you could be paid for the rest of your life. You'd never worry about money again the rest of your life. Now, I'd never, ever had that presented to me. I never even thought that that would be possible. And maybe none of you have ever thought that's possible, because we have to keep going to places to make money, show up here, show up there. Otherwise, we don't get paid, okay? It's a foreign idea to say, really, you can work hard one time, right? And the fact is you're going to work hard anyway. Everybody who goes out and tries to make a living is going to work hard anyway. So why would you work hard forever when you could work hard one time? If that was really true, that would be something very, very significant. So it's hard to believe that that's true, but I started to investigate that to see, and I met people who had done it. And so I got very focused on it, and I started to realize, why is this so unique? Why is it such a great business? Here's why. This business, the way it's structured, allows you to create huge upside potential. Like you can really scale this business like you cannot scale any other business. You can scale this thing huge with no risk. No leases, no employees, no debt, no bankers, no brain damage, okay? You can scale this thing to a huge proportion without any downside. And that's a really unique and important thing. So, look at these numbers. I saw these for the first time many years ago, and they actually come from the U.S. government. And here's what happens to 100 people at age 65 in the United States of America. 16 are dead, did not make it to 65, died before that. 66 are dead broke. They're living on between, less than $30,000 a year. They never got the memo that Social Security is a supplemental retirement program. It's not supposed to be your whole thing. And they're trying to just live on that. And there's no dignity in that kind of retirement. 13 people out of 100 are between $30,000 and $60,000 a year. That's their pensions, that's their savings, that's their retirement. That's what they can spend, trying to time their death, okay? So that's their deal right there, 13 out of 100. 5 people out of 100. These are the couples that you see walking hand in hand, barefoot on the beach on the cover of the American Express Retirement Plan brochure. There's not very many of them. They travel endlessly, eat at the best restaurants, stay at the best hotels, have no cares and no worries. Anybody know anybody like that in retirement? 1 or 2? Not very many. Very few. And one person out of 100 in this country is considered wealthy, and the definition of wealth in America today is 10 million of net worth, excluding all debt. If you don't really have that, you're not really wealthy. Now, when you look at that chart, you can say to yourself, wow, that is tough. And maybe you don't believe it. You better believe it, okay? Literally, 1 or 2% of the people in this country make really the highest incomes, make the most money. 1 or 2%. It's just the way it is. If you don't believe that, think back a year ago in Washington when President Obama said, we got to tax the top 2%. We got to tax the 2%, we got to hit them hard, we got a deficit, and that's the issue, okay? And that's it. That's right there, your government admitting that really 2% of the people make most of the money in this country. So that's the way that is. Now, I learned a long time ago that I didn't need to learn how to fail. I could probably just fail on my own. Okay? What I needed to learn was how that 1% that actually became wealthy in this country did it. Because they say that success leaves clues. And if somebody else has done it, you should go pick their brain and find out how, because maybe you could replicate it. And I wanted to find out how they did it. Here's how they did it, right here. Okay? 10% of the 1% were CEOs of public companies. They got stock options and bonuses that made them worth more than $10 million. All right? Another 10% were the top professionals, lawyers, doctors, dentists, consultants, CPAs, the guys with the extra initials behind their name. The top of those areas were able to become wealthy. But the Affordable Care Act has made it sure today that no physicians will ever really get in that category again. Pretty much all doctors will end up working for hospital groups, HMOs, and things like that under the Affordable Care Act. So That whole group just got the legs cut out from underneath them, right? 5% of the 1% are the super salespeople. These are the top bond traders on Wall Street, the top stockbrokers, you know, the top real estate agents, top life insurance salespeople. Those kind of people that made more than 10 million during their careers. And 1% of the 1%, that teeny sliver, is what I call the lucky DNA club. Those are the athletes and entertainers, these very unique human beings, right? And as I look around my audience today, right here in this room, I don't see very much lucky DNA. No offense. But you're probably not going to make it that way, right? All right. So the good news today is that the vast majority of people that do make wealth in this country do it by owning their own business. 74% of the 1% own their own business, which is something everybody here could do if you wanted to, but it may not be advisable for you at a certain age or a certain risk profile. You know, once you're past 40 years of age, if you think you're going to start a business or make something on your own, then what happens to most people at that point is they fail. 75% of all new businesses fail in this country in the first 5 years. So if you're over 40 and you think, you know what, I'm going to start my own business, I'd think twice. Because you've got a 75% chance you're going to blow it. And if you blow it, guess what happens? You're toast. You'll never retire. You'll work until you're dead. Because you've got to try to pay back people that you borrowed money from or lost their money, if you have any integrity. And then you're going to try to save money after that and try to recover, and you're out of runway. There's not enough time before retirement, okay? So you're not going to cut it by doing that. So, in summary on this slide, does anybody here today see a piece of this pie chart, any piece anywhere here that is labeled employee? I worked for somebody else my whole life. Is that up there anywhere?
No.
No, it's not. And you just have to understand that if you work for somebody else, you may be going to pay your bills, maybe. You might get a couple weeks vacation, okay? And you get this little teeny retirement thing that you starve with. You're going to have to chop your lifestyle like in half. It's really painful, okay? And that's going to be the outcome for you. You'll really have nothing in the end, okay? You'll trade your whole life away to some company, somewhere, and that'll be it, okay? So that's what happens to most people, okay? So just understand that's the outcome, you know? If I irritate you enough today, and I'm probably doing a good job right now, okay? If I irritate you enough, you may go back to that place where you work, right after this lunch, you know, go there at noon, at 1 o'clock, and you walk into your boss's office, and you walk up to him and say, I need 10 times more money. I just learned I'm screwed if I keep working here, okay? So you got to pay me 10 times more, or I'm out of here. What's your boss going to say? So there's the door. Don't let it hit you in the butt on the way out, right? Because you work in an employment marketplace. You can't demand, you know, multiples of the market just because you want to. You have no leverage on your boss. There's pay grades. You know, they get this all like slotted in HR, right? And so you just can't do that. So that's the problem, is that you're just going to get what you can get, and it's just not much. They're going to pay you as little as they can pay you to get you to stay there and do that job. That's just the way it is, all right? So that's what happens. So you got to do your own thing, really. Here's just to underscore this. We'll just drive it home before we leave. So everybody here's probably received a W-2 form before. That's what you get, you know, from your employer, so you can file your taxes at the end of the year. Everybody got one of those? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So what does W stand for? Worker? Wages? No. No, not worker, not wages. Withholding. No, it's not withholding. It stands for warning. And it's a double warning. You fill out this form, you're screwed. You'll never have anything. That's what it means. What's a 1099 form? What's that? This is what you get when you have self-employment income. This is what you get when you take money out of your own company. Or like when you're a newsprint distributor and you get a 1099 for all the money they send you at the end of the year, right? Yeah, that's what that is. How many tax advantages do people get that have their own businesses? All of them.